Are you stuck in the same emotional loop, wondering why nothing ever changes despite all your efforts? The real transformation you've been seeking isn't in fixing your outer world, but in turning inwards, honestly, courageously, and without filters. I'm offering you a simple but powerful practice called self witnessing. It's a form of shadow work that reveals the unconscious patterns shaping your reality. I've been practicing shadow work for over 10 years, and I've been working one on one with clients for the past 4 years. Both clients and I have had huge transformations with this practice, and I just want to share it with you. It isn't about theory, it's about experiencing real change from the inside. This is a practice that is a direct experience. It's not about memorizing steps to take. It's actually doing the steps and experiencing the internal shift, becoming more aware of how we're operating in our world and how we're being triggered through our wounded patterns to repeat many of the cycles that we continue to repeat. Right now, while Pluto just stationed to go retrograde, is a great time to turn inwards and face your shadow self. And I'm offering real guidance on how we can do this for ourselves. So, welcome to Starwell Astrology. My name is Sharrie. I am an astrologer and I have a special interest in shadow work. I offer personal natal chart readings, but also one on one shadow work coaching. So if you are interested in working with me personally, you can reach me at starwellastro@gmail.com. Also, if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It will help my channel to grow. Now, I also want to add that as an added bonus to this video, you can join me for free every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for a free shadow work workshop where we practice, reflect, and support each other in this deep inner journey. If you're ready to stop repeating the same cycles and start living from a place of clarity and personal empowerment, then this space is for you. Just send a quick email to starwellastro@gmail.com and I'll send you the details on how you can join us. So if you find that you are continually doing the same thing every day and you are hoping for different results, then good luck with that because it's virtually impossible to change unless you do something different. Shadow work is more powerful than hoping our outer world will change to make us feel happy. What instead we'll discover that the power we hold to change is from the inside out, where we know who we are and find joy in ourselves that is not dependent on our outer world. And a real step for doing something different comes from changing how we are seeing ourselves and how we are choosing to operate in our world. Shadow work can bring great results when you know how to do the practice, but you must do the practice. If you do a few days and you stop, then you will not get any results. There must be a real intention and commitment to doing the simple steps that I'm offering. And the simplest step to start with is self-witnessing. It's not the whole practice, but it's the first and the most important step that you can take to transform your life in incredible ways. You absolutely get huge transformations by just setting a real intention to do the work I'm suggesting. This is a very simple practice that we might take for granted, but by becoming more self-aware, we're gaining access to the unconscious side or shadow side that is actually running the show in our lives. Shadow work helps us to connect with all aspects of the self. And yes, there are many aspects to the self since we are multifaceted beings. And becoming aware of all the roles we're playing in our lives and how we are performing on our outer stage in life allows us to see with more clarity. Surrendering as we witness ourselves is another important key, but also the courage to acknowledge and face ourselves is essential for our healing and growth to take place. Now, once we have practiced witnessing ourselves, we can now name what we are feeling. That's the whole point of it. The practice is not for us to judge ourselves, but to simply become aware of ourselves in the way that we were not able to before. So we often avoid confronting our negative emotions like rage and bitterness and sadness, also fear, envy, shame. Those are painful emotional wounds that no one wants to feel, much less accept or face in ourselves. However, to heal these feelings, they must be faced. Instead of facing these unpleasant emotions, we tend to blame, condemn, ignore, or suppress them. Confronting what we feel is challenging, especially when we don't want to acknowledge our true painful feelings. So these are deep wounds that really hurt. So we might wonder, what's the point in doing this and what can we actually do about these feelings? The point of feeling our feelings is not so that we get consumed by them, but instead it sets the stage to witness the emotional wave that we ride. Every time we identify with our feelings and emotions, we go on this roller coaster of identifying with our painful wounds. When we can observe and feel our uncomfortable feelings and emotions, we can do this without becoming consumed by them when we're able to transform the emotional wounds energetically. It's a form of alchemy that we tend to overlook. The integration of our feelings and emotions get processed alchemically as they get transformed into higher frequencies when freed from being trapped in the cycle of repetitive conditioned thought patterns. So let me explain how this works, because that was a lot of information, and let's try to break this down more precisely. The way this works is that we become aware and present, and we create enough space to witness the feelings, and we start to notice how the fragmented aspects of the self, called the shadow self, is influencing the personality and causing us to automatically identify with our emotional wounds. These emotional wounds cause us to identify with our pain, our shame, our anger, and then we get consumed by this. And it might seem overwhelming and cause us to project the pain and cause distortions to what we truly feel. The work is not to control or adjust the feeling, but just to stay present as the witness to what we're doing with our feelings. We might notice how we try to escape what we feel through blame and distractive behavior. We've been conditioned to believe that we need to do something with the feeling, either escape it or project it or avoid it. But all we really need to do is feel the feeling. Instead, all we need to do is get into our bodies and face the feeling fully. Now, easier said than done, because we don't want to feel shame or fear or anger. We want it to be something else. And because of this, we end up deflecting it, rejecting it, projecting it. We do everything but own it. But if we can just be with that feeling without becoming consumed by it, transformation can begin here. Now, if we manage to do this, we can notice something very important. We will notice the thoughts that is triggering our feelings over and over again. Do not overlook this, because this is where we can stop our wounded thought patterns. In other words, if we feel angry, then the identifications comes from a storyline that is repeating itself in an automatic loop, re-triggering the anger we feel over and over again. But unless we become conscious and aware, we can't isolate the anger from the repetitive thought patterns that is getting re-triggered. And if we can do this, this is a huge step in our healing journey. Then if we simply just notice how we want to cling to the thoughts, that is recreating the anger each time, and we try to isolate the feeling of the anger and feel the anger fully without the thoughts, this is how we're able to alchemize the anger into higher energetic frequencies. Notice how we get into a storyline that we believe is supporting what we feel. Now the work is to create enough space through awareness to witness the story we're telling ourselves and watch how our feelings of anger gets reignited each time. To witness the repetitive loop allows us to isolate the feeling. To do the self-witnessing practice and to notice the repetitive loop that cause us to identify with the feeling. If we continue to do the practice, we can isolate the feeling. Notice the feeling cannot sustain itself without the story. So the work is to keep isolating the feeling while noticing the grasp we feel from the story. Now try to notice that there is a space, and it's very subtle but can be felt. This is the space between you as the witnessing presence and you as the conditioned personality that feels identified with your thoughts and feelings. Magic happens if we stick with this practice. Now, this is the next level. So set the intention to do this practice every day and watch how the magical alchemy of healing takes place. So to review, in my previous video on how to practice shadow work, I talked about the first 5 steps of practicing shadow work. As always, the first step is set the intention, and I'm putting an emphasis on intention, because if we don't set the intention, then we won't do the practice. So consciously set the intention to practice self-witnessing. Then notice the feeling as they arise and acknowledge the feeling. If you don't acknowledge the feeling, then you get carried away with what you're doing and you don't get a chance to really like call yourself out on what you're feeling. Then face and confront what you're feeling. Once you are able to isolate that feeling and give it a name, anger, for example, then face that feeling. Say, okay, I am angry. Now, take accountability for what you feel. The reason you're taking accountability for what you feel is so that you don't project or deflect the feeling. If you can own the feeling as your own and not someone else's, then you're able to take accountability for what you feel. Then you surrender to the feeling, allowing that feeling to be there without judgment. No blame, just stay open and curious and aware and present to the feeling. So the next level, or the second level of this practice, is what this video is about. We're adding more steps. So once we have isolated the emotion fully, for example, anger, then we notice the thoughts around the feeling and watch how they get re-triggered every time we retell ourselves a storyline that is supporting that anger. Just watch it. Now simply witness the identifications you feel to the story that cause you to reinvest in the feeling. For example, you're angry. You isolate the anger. But now as you're feeling the anger, you begin to witness yourself and notice that there are thoughts that are going on around in your mind, and it's telling a story of why you feel anger. Watch how you want to re-identify with the anger based on the storyline that is supporting it. Just stay curious, just stay open and surrender to it. Just watch and witness how your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your behavior, and your motivations are being triggered by these feelings. Just continue to observe everything and allow these feelings to surface without judgment or denial. Notice that there's a space between you as the witnessing presence and the conditioned personality that is identified with thoughts and feelings. Now, this comes easier for people who have meditated for many years. They're aware of what that zero field of emptiness feels like. But I have worked with many people who don't meditate, and they're able to notice this. So it's just setting the the intention to do the practice, follow through, become aware, do the witnessing practice. The more you do the witnessing practice, you realize that the witnessing presence is you. That is your true inner state of being. And then you start to notice that you also as a conditioned personality that is identified with the thoughts and feelings. There is a space between you as the observer and the personality. Just notice that, because that is the alchemy of what heals the emotions. So just by doing these steps and making this a direct experience, which is extremely important for shadow work. If you're just talking about this and you're just writing down these steps, but not actually practicing, then it's just more information. But if you do the practice, as I am suggesting, then this becomes a direct experience and magic happens when you follow through on this practice. So I want to thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll consider subscribing if you like this material and hit the like button. Also, don't forget that I am offering a weekly free shadow work workshop every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Just send me an email to starwellastro@gmail.com and I'll send you the details on how to join. Also, I do offer natal chart readings, personal natal chart readings, and one-on-one shadow work if you're interested. My information is below. Thank you for joining me, and goodbye.